A couple of years back, I made a series of videos about Chromebooks and Chrome OS, but I must admit, over the last couple of years, really since that time, I've not used Chromebooks a whole lot. And the primary reason for that is kind of maybe a strange one, but it's because I've been using so many foldable phones that I just really haven't been using tablets or laptops of any kind at all. It's pretty much my desktop or my phone that I can open up into a tablet. However, I've been seeing some of the developments with Chromebooks and Chrome OS. I've been watching this stuff relatively closely. I've been impressed with what's been going on, and I thought to myself, I think it's time for me to jump back in. Unfortunately, the Chromebooks that I had were a little bit on the outdated side, so I went and I managed to find myself a really solid deal for a Chromebook. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what it's been like over the last few days using Chrome OS again in late 2023. How far has it progressed? Think of this as basically a Chrome OS review in, again, late 2023. So I think a pretty good place to start this video would be on the lock screen. And you may think there's not a lot on the lock screen you could possibly show me, but there's actually some pretty cool stuff going on now. As you can see down here, to unlock your Chromebook, first unlock your phone. And my Pixel Fold is the phone that is paired up with this thing. So if I unlock my Pixel Fold, boom, there you go. We are unlocked and we are now into the operating system. I was doing some shopping for a microphone, actually, for the setup that we are currently looking at. Let's zoom in just a little bit so we can get a better look at the screen. So let's kind of talk about the interface first, because a few things had changed since I really used Chrome OS a whole lot. First thing is that our little start menu is way over here, and it is kind of in its own little box. It used to be like this whole panel would come up. This is much more like kind of Windows-ish, but really pared down. It's basically like a combination of the Windows start menu and an Android app drawer. You do have this search up here at the top, which is also a Google Assistant, which you can use the microphone to do a quick Google Assistant search. But yeah, you've got your applications there. You can drag them around. You can put them in a folder. There's even an option to show you your recent apps. It's simple, but it is relatively effective. You can also have your choice of apps pinned down here at the bottom. You can see what I have chose. This is an Android app down here for Discord. And then, of course, I have the messages for web and then Chrome. Moving over to the right side, there's a couple of interesting things as well. This option is for a quick files. You can pin particular files. You can see the recent files on your device. You can also jump straight into the File Explorer application, which is pretty decent now. It's nothing too extravagant. It's basically a fully functional file explorer. We also have access to our calendar, which also shows our recent notifications, which you can swipe away. This is very Windows 11-ish, or perhaps you could say Windows 11 is very Chrome OS-ish. If you click right here, you also have your quick settings, which again, kind of looks like a bit of Windows mixed with a bit of Android. Quick toggles that you can actually minimize this. Nice little fluid animation. Volume, brightness, you can actually jump in and change some of your audio settings through there as well. Lock settings, power, sign out, pretty decent stuff. And then there is your ability to jump into your recent items and also have multiple desktops, which is something that I never use, but it is good that it is at least there. So I've actually got the device opened now because I do want to show you one thing that I do like. There is a key combination here that I can hit, which will allow me to take a screenshot very similarly to how Windows does it now, where you can actually snip a portion of the screen, and that not only is saved, but is also now on your clipboard. I really, really like that a lot. You can also even capture video. So you could take a portion of the screen and begin capturing video of just that portion of the screen. Really, really nice implementation. Obviously, it's called Chrome OS because you're meant to use the Chrome browser. And as you can see, the Chrome browser does open up and load into things fairly quickly. Let's jump into a new tab and we'll just load into YouTube because that's a website we're all fairly familiar with. You can see how quickly it did load into that. Anything inside your web browser is going to be pretty quick and smooth. Of course, you have access to all of your Chrome extensions, all the things that make you like Chrome. it all works pretty well. I just clicked on a video. We'll just go back to Twitter because it's got some, long scrolling as well as things load in. You can see how quick that's going, and yes, you can pinch to zoom with a multi-touch display. Overall, I do think that this UI is becoming fairly feature complete. There are some cool options in here that they're kind of taking from Windows. If I grab a mouse, which I think this mouse is still paired with it, yep, and I put my cursor up here on this button that lets you go between maximized and kind of that reduced window, if you hover over it, you'll see some options here, which is very reminiscent of the snap layouts for Windows. Now, there's some things about this I wish that they would go ahead and steal. Let's open up another application so that we have two things open. We'll just do YouTube Music, and this is the Android application. There's some other things to look at here as well, but let's hover back over this, and let's do this one here. I wish it popped up and gave me the option, ask me, hey, do you want your other applications, show me what I've got open. Do you want any of them to automatically go there like Windows does? Otherwise, you're forced to sort of, drag something over there and try to do it yourself. Even if you have two Chrome windows open, you're going to have to kind of do it manually. And if you drag it over to the edge, it doesn't intelligently go half, where this is slightly over half. You have to go half and half that way. So there's just some weird stuff. Again, if I do this, it should ask me if I want this one to shrink to that space. I shouldn't have to come over here and manually do that. If we do open back up an Android app, though, you'll see that there's some interesting stuff going on here as well. See how this says phone? That's because this is currently in a phone layout, but you can also go tablet as well as fully resizable. So I like the options there to do some different things. And if you go to phone and hover over this, you can actually put it into this floating windows sort of thing where it's kind of always on top now. And I've actually been using this for things like YouTube Music because a lot of websites don't use anything over on this side and that corner. So you can have your music up, whatever Android app you want, sort of just chilling there while you're doing what you're doing. And while we're talking about Android apps, let's look at a few of them because by and large, they run pretty well. This is Radar Scope, which is a weather app that I like to use. And as you can see, performance is pretty decent on it. Loaded up relatively quickly, scrolling around, no problems. Jumping into some multimedia apps, things like Hulu, also loading in just about as fast as they do on an Android device. Some multimedia, quite strong on this thing now. They've even got their own version of Minecraft for Chromebooks, Chrome OS as well. And while I would rather open this thing up and use the mouse and keyboard, you can see that it does perform pretty well. It looks good and it performs honestly better than this same hardware would perform on this game if it were running Windows. Let me also show you what this multitasking screen looks like. That way you can quickly, jump between your open apps. Alt tab basically is a similar feature. Now there's also this icon down here which I skipped over, and this is the one that lets you look at your phone. If you open this up, you can see your recent Chrome tabs, recent photos, and recent applications. And I'll zoom back out just a little bit so that you can see this. We're going to lock the phone and I'm going to pick an app right here. Let's just do Threads. And what's going to happen is it's going to fire up Threads, and this is streaming from my phone, but you'll see this thing did not actually have to unlock or do anything particularly weird. This could be in my pocket and yet Threads is still running, again, streaming from my phone. Now, I do wish I could move it around or do anything else with it. It has to be in this corner, which is definitely a little bit of a bummer, but you could potentially see a situation where maybe it's a YouTube video or something like that. Maybe you just want to keep an eye on the weather on a radar or something like that, but you don't want that app installed on this device. Well, I say that, but it's crashing. So we'll use another example. There you go. Not perfect in the least. Let's do tasks. We'll jump over to my shopping list. Maybe you're working and you want to work with something like that, and that's the app on your phone. If you modify it here, it's going to be modified on your phone. So there's some potential there, right? Like it works pretty well, but definitely not as good as I want it to be. It's not like using Phone Link on Windows where you can fully resize it, drag it around, and do whatever you want with it. It's a little bit too restricted for me. Now, at this point in the video, what I was going to do was use Nearby Share to send a video shot on my Pixel over to the Chromebook wirelessly, and then I was going to pull up the video editor in Google Photos as well as LumaFusion and show you how well both of these things worked. However, ran into some weird problems because it popped up with nearby share, asked if I wanted to receive the file. I hit yes, and it just sat there and never received it. I rebooted, and when I came back up, Bluetooth was turned off, and it just would not allow me to re-enable it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try my best to actually get that to work. But now you've seen in this review, two different things kind of not work quite the way they should, or totally break just while filming this. And this is sort of a thing I've been experiencing. While Chrome OS has grown a lot, they've added a ton of features to it that are really quite nice. They've also added some jankiness that I don't remember being there. Some inconsistency with that complexity that maybe they could do a little bit to improve. So after another reboot, Bluetooth is back, but I just cannot get this device to be seen on my Pixel Fold. It's like they're just not seeing one another. This is definitely way buggier than it should be. It just popped up on my Pixel Fold. We have selected it again. It says connecting. Will this actually work this time? Still not seeing it over here. Honestly, guys, it just appears like it's just not going to see it. I do not know why this feature is having so many problems. As you can see there, it failed. This is just not working very well. And honestly, it's a simple feature. I use this all the time on my Windows PC, on my other phones, and it should work just fine. But for some reason, it's just not working well. So we're going to fire up Google Photos, and we're going to go to the same video that I was going to use. We're just going to click on edit, and it should download it and allow me to do some things that way. Error loading video. So we're just failing at every step of the way at this point. Let's try another video. We're going to click on edit on this one and let it download and see if maybe it's something about that video that I wanted to send and I wanted to edit in here. Will it work here? Error loading video. Absolutely broken. So now we're going to jump into Google Photos on the website and we're going to manually download it. That is working. Now on Google Photos, the app, we're going to jump into that download folder. This should be the video there. It's the correct amount of time, but as you can see, it is all black. So as a last resort, what we're going to do now is we're going to go into app info for Google Photos. We are going to go into more settings and permissions, storage. We are going to clear the storage and basically start this app over fresh. And let's see if we can actually get this to work. There is that file again. It is still just a black screen. Let's jump into the File Explorer and open up files. We'll go into downloads. There it is. Let's open it up there. It is still a black screen. I have no explanation for what is going on here, but this is absolutely ruining any demo that I was going to try to give, because what I was going to show you is you can edit things in Google Photos, but you can also use something like LumaFusion, which is a pretty much full-fledged video editing application on this device. So the thought would be, shoot some video on your phone, nearby share it over, and go in and edit it here. Now here's the thing, guys. I'm confident that this should work. I don't know why it's not working for me. It probably works fine for you, but it's not working fine for me here, and I don't know why all of the things you're seeing be broken are currently broken. And that's kind of been my experience with Chrome OS since jumping back into it. There is so much potential, so much promise. It does so many things really well. It's fairly efficient. The web browsing experience is fine. I love having access to these Android apps. I like the user interface now. It's quite clean. The settings kind of reminds me of Android. It's very familiar, but man, oh man, there is some major jank going on with this thing. And I thought, like I said earlier in this video, that, I had these outdated Chromebooks, and look, don't get me wrong, they are outdated and they are very slow, but they're also janky. I thought that jankiness was the same reason why they were slow. They were just outdated. But now, after using this new Chromebook, which has that N6000 processor, 8 gigs of RAM, it's a mid-range Chromebook, right? It's nothing crazy, but like, it's fine. It's not a baseline Chromebook. It's faster, but it's still having some of the same janky issues that these other older Chromebooks were having. And it's really disappointing to me, because I'm seeing this and I'm thinking, wow, a laptop that integrates with Chrome, the browser that I'm using, integrates with my phone. I can see my notifications. They sync from my phone to the laptop. That's really cool. I can text from it with the messaging app. I can run the same apps back and forth, run my phone apps on that screen. There's so much synergy going on there. And for what I do, right, this is my workstation, the computer where I film and edit. I'm not really going to do much of that on there, but I can browse the web, pull up Google Tasks, and get some of that pre-work done on there really nice and smoothly. That all sounds great until you run into some of these weird bugs that are just present on my device. And again, I'm sure I'm going to get people in the comments saying, I can download a photo or a video in Google Photos and pull up the editor and it works just fine. And you know what? It worked fine for me a couple days ago whenever I tried it, but now it's broken. I'm fully updated on apps and OS, so I don't know what has happened. And again, you can say, power wash your device, reset, start over. I shouldn't have to do that. A simple, basic feature like that shouldn't break like this in only a couple of days. So all I can really do is just show you the exact experience that I've had, and unfortunately, it's been a real mixed bag with this particular device. And again, with other older devices, it was similarly a mixed bag. So there you go, guys. That's what it's like right now for me using Chrome OS in 2023. Let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. I'm sure some of you are going to have a very different experience to report, but I'd love to hear about that. You know, maybe I've just had terrible luck for the last few months as I've been playing around with this. It would be very interesting to hear. Guys, subscribe for more content just like this, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.